the level of temptation following the promotion can be astonishing, and many don't make the cut. In fact, it is the dominating reason that the Lord hesitates to promote his children too quickly. Because if he promotes you too quickly and you're not ready, you see, remember the children of Israel when God was trying to transition them from the desert and into the promised land, and they saw the giants. They said, we can't deal with this level of, and God and the Lord was unable to take them into the promised land. Later they changed their mind when God said, you can't go, and they said, no, we'll go, and they tried to go, and there was a great slaughter among them. God knew that they weren't ready. When God said you can't go into the promised land, it was not so much as a punishment, but more so as a discipline. They weren't ready for the next level. They weren't ready for the blessing. They weren't ready for the promise. Do you know that God has to prepare you for the promise? Consider Abraham. Abraham was promised that he would receive a child from his wife's barren womb. And he waited some 25 years for God to fulfill the promise. And right about a year before the promise was fulfilled, the Bible says that God visited Abraham and then told him, he says, next year at this time, he said, at the appointed time, you're going to have your son. Consider that. Abraham waited for 25 years, hoping that any time now, the child, the promise that God gave him, would be delivered unto him. But God said, I'll return to you at the appointed time next year. You see, all that time that Abraham was waiting on God, God was preparing Abraham to receive the promise. Sometimes you've got to be prepared to receive the promise, and this is what the desert is all about. You see, the Lord wants us to understand and to grasp and to master dealing with the temptation at the level we are now. Because if we're unsuccessfully dealing with the temptation at the level we are now, when we get promoted, we'll be overcome. And God desires that we be overcomers. Therefore, he is slow to promote. He is slow to bless sometimes. He is slow to bring forth the promise until I've mastered the temptation on the level I am now.